Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my Blacadian universe. I want to talk about the recent protests that were held across the United States in response to the president. There's been some things said about those protests that I take umbrage with, so let's talk about it. So, if you've been paying attention, you know that Black people, the 42%, particularly Black women, have been choosing to sit out of the protests. I mean, it's a little bit of tough love. I completely and utterly support it. As a Canadian, I couldn't vote in this upcoming election, but you know how I would have voted. And, you know, I think the resounding disappointment and just fatigue of having to carry the weight of ungrateful people, like an ungrateful child. It's like an adult child that doesn't appreciate that they can't survive without you. I think, Black Americans are having that moment right now, and I fully support. So what has been happening, I think, is that, with full encouragement and support from, the Black community, we're saying it's time that, white people fix white people problems. Let's keep it real. And people are very, very offended by this because, it's different, it's new, change, everyone resists change. But we're protecting ourselves. Black people are just like, you know what? You take those reins, you got this. Push you out of that nest. And a lot of people are very upset about it. And so recently there was a march, a very well organized, march that was happening. I think it was like, like this is in April. As I'm recording this, is just a few days ago. And, if you look at the photos, the Black people weren't there. Okay. And, wonderful. That's great. Good protest. Very good. I don't know what to say. It's a very good protest. I mean, I wonder how many people in that crowd, which way they voted, because I call me cynical, call me negative, whatever the case may be, but I do strongly believe that a lot of people that were there didn't expect the impacts to impact them. They othered themselves into this vote. I want to see that. I want to see that voting. Show me your tweets. Show me your tweets, from a couple years ago. That's all I'm saying. Before I, fully support, but that's for another talk. I think I want to talk about, moralism, if people are just being, very moral, upstanding citizens, or if this comes down to impact and money, because unfortunately, morality doesn't move people as quickly as money does, but I'll talk about that in another episode. But right now, I want to focus on some of the things that people have been saying about this protest, how it's been so great. It's the greatest protest in American history. And I take umbrage with that. I have a huge problem with that because let's keep it real. You copied the idea of protesting in these mass organized show of unity from Black people, from the civil rights movement. You copied it, okay? So the fact that you're trying to say that a recycled idea is the greatest in history. No, come up with something original first before you try to put some blonde hair on it and call it revolutionary, okay? Because you copied it. just accept it. Like the fact that and I feel like there's a little salt in the wounds, trying to put a little salt in the wounds of Black Americans that aren't supporting you this time, that you're trying to call us out and say that, we did it better. First of all, you didn't. You really didn't. And I'll be honest, our culture is always been coveted by unoriginal white people. Just stating facts. It's a very bold statement for me to say, but Black culture, a lot of uncreative people, you know, cross. God, I'm just gonna laugh because when my girlfriend hears this and I say cross the bridge into Black culture, because they're, while they're locking their doors of their car, very terrified, they'll go there, collect what they see, knowing that their peers will have no exposure to Black culture, and then try to, market it as their own. And that's exactly what they've done with this protest, and then sort of say that it's great because it's white. In case you didn't notice, that's why you're in this mess in the first place, is because you voted for white supremacy. So, get that flavor out of your mouth and stop trying to say that you are the originators and the creators of something that's good. Because realistically, in the history that the current president is trying to erase, the only original idea that white people have come up with any lasting impact in a really long time is colonization. Okay. And you're applying it as well to these protests. So, give the citation, give the credit to the OGs who came up with this idea to have a movement to evoke, unity and feeling and peaceful protests. People, when someone's talking about peaceful protests, their minds are probably going to go to like Gandhi, before they would, and Martin Luther King, before they go to like this protest that happened a couple days ago. So know your history and appreciate it and acknowledge it. And the fact that you are even trying to claim this as the greatest is frankly part of the problem why you're in this mess, because a lot of people won't give flowers to Black people simply because they're Black. They would rather take their ideas and repackage them in whiteness so that they're more palatable to racist people. Fix yourselves. I'll I feel that, the other piece of this is that resentment that comes from the fact that Black people are no longer willing to struggle and fight and exist in this oppressive state. Of course, racism is real. Of course, Black Americans are impacted by these changes, but the fact that we're not dwelling, the fact that we are choosing ourselves, that we are choosing to focus our energies elsewhere, is a powerful statement of how we are moving beyond this rhetoric, beyond this talk. We expect more of white people. You made promises, in 2020 with, the murder of George Floyd. People were woke. They were awakened to, frankly, the ills of other people that they knew damn well were happening. But, the fact that they were willing to call it out this time. We expected lasting change. We expected you to fight. with us. And a lot of people went back. And the fact that there's so many people out there talking about, oh, I did this in 2020. I marched. I did this. You think that that one march makes up for hundreds of years of oppression? No, no, ma'am, it does not. We are not square because you finally acknowledge something that you knew was taking place of one time and like posted a black square on your Instagram or took a knee, and bought some, black owned makeup. No, we are not square. There is a lot that you need to do to check your own people and fight on the daily before you can consider yourself, have done anything for Black people, Black Americans, any equity deserving group. You need to use your privilege and call out racism in every place that you see it, including within yourselves. If you can't acknowledge that you have privilege and have benefits. The fact that these protests have been so peaceful is because of white privilege. The fact that you can go out there and march in the streets and not get scooped up by, immigration and deported is privilege, okay? People aren't risking their lives anymore because we have been shown time and time again that if it doesn't impact you, then you don't care. That's just what we've been taught, and it's exhausting. People are tired, and with another thing that came out of the pandemic and the crisis in 2020 was mental health. And I think a lot of people in Black communities started taking mental health and mental wellness much, much more serious. And so we decided that we're not being lazy, we're not, being selfish. We're just practicing some self-love and self-care and putting ourselves first. And we're going to do what, frankly, white people have been doing for centuries, which was, I'm just going to keep my head down and, just take care of myself because it's currently, it's just a me thing. I'm just taking care of myself right now. And the world is angry because that is not the role that we have been playing forever. And we're not going back. So a revolution, resistance is in the idea that we're going to do things differently. The definition of being insane or crazy is that if you keep doing the same thing and, expecting a different result. America has resoundingly told Black people that no matter how much you fight, no matter how much you lay your life on the line, no matter how much you spill your blood, and how many of you are, killed in the streets, videotaped and seen for everybody, we're going to keep doing what serves us, despite the fact that we will continue to dehumanize you and destroy you because it'll fill our pockets. That's what you have shown us, what you have taught us. And so now we're doing something different. So don't call out people with your little cup of haterade and say that, oh, now we're the greatest. We're doing this. We're finally, finally is the correct word. We're stepping up. We're doing something. It's about damn time. It's about damn time. And this should have been happening before the fact. I would have been more impressed, frankly, if this was happening before I knew that this was impacting people that didn't look like me. I wanted to see this kind of courageous caring and organization and, frankly, care when it was impacting, when people didn't feel like it was impacting white people. And then it would have been truly, truly, truly great. As always, thank you so much for listening. I will be talking in my next episode. I think I'm going to continue on talking about the protests. I just like it didn't really get to touch up on it, but I'm really going to talk about, the meaning behind it a little bit more in depth. So thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next time.